Amanda, thank you so much for joining us here on the Primetime Directive. We're really excited. So Sharon goes to the Paley Center exhibit of Strange New Worlds, and she says, guess who I ran into? I was like, really? Someone who directed 2 episodes of Star Trek? That's amazing. And then we looked it up, and you've directed all kinds of cool stuff, like Doom Patrol, which is one of my favorite series.
I love that show.
Oh my God. And that episode was so good.
Thank you.
It was so good. Oh, I loved it. So how did you get into directing?
A lot of directors have like really awesome, cool stories about doing one thing and then, deciding to chase their dream. But I saw Titanic when I was 10 and I was like, Dad, I want to be James Cameron. And family saved up for a little camcorder. I was like Dawson from Dawson's Creek. I was like that weird kid, like making movies and obsessed with Spielberg. Then I went to a performing arts school where I majored in drama. And then I went to a film school, did all 4 years, never actually graduated. And then after that, I tried the climb the ladder thing, start as like working in other departments on set. And I was like, I really don't like being on set unless I'm directing. So I just did a bunch of, I worked as a bartender and I just made little movies on weekends. And one of those movies did really, really well in festivals. I made it for $50. It was 3 minutes long. And then a director from Hemlock Grove, which was Netflix's first series, was trying to do a whole unit that basically involved arts and crafts filmmaking. And I was suddenly working in television.
Your story is so amazing. Like you basically said, I don't want to work hard to move up the ladder. I would rather stand and work as a bartender and do my own thing. And it's amazing that you got to where you are through that. Is there a way we can see the movie?
Yeah, it's online still. If you just Google Mitten and Amanda Rowe, it should come up. It was a submission for the ABCs of Death contest. It's an anthology series where every letter represents like a way to die. Like A is for arson, B is for baseball bat. And they're just like these 2-3 minute horror movies. And they'll always release one letter to the public. And so their letter was M. And so I did M is for Mitten. And it didn't win the contest, but it ended up in like festivals everywhere. And got me a TV job.
Wow. That's really cool. You made it for $50?
Yeah, essentially. Obviously, I had favors, but it was like me, a camera guy, and, someone else just like helping out, an actor. And that was it. In the woods, beside my house, $50 was for pizza, and I bought mittens.
Okay. Very important.
Were you a Star Trek fan?
Huge Star Trek fan.
Ooh, there we go.
It's funny. I just shared on my Facebook, how they remind you of things like from 10 years ago or whatever. And I got this memory from 9 years ago. And like the status was just like, no one will understand how much I love Star Trek ever. It's like kind of embarrassing, but not because I directed Star Trek. So now it's like.
What was your first Star Trek?
My first Star Trek was technically the original series because my grandparents used to play, like whenever I went to their house, they only had VHS tapes and they had recorded them all off the TV.
Oh, neat.
So I watched a lot of Sinbad, that movie. I watched that one over and over again as well, and the original series. But when I really fell in love with Star Trek was TNG. I'm like a huge TNG fan. And then growing up, I watched Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And I like Janeway, Sisko. Amazing captains. I'm a big fan. My brother is the biggest fan, my older brother. And, I like, it's always been sort of part of our vocabulary, and he got to storyboard Star Trek with me. So that was kind of a huge dream come true for both of us.
What does that mean? He got the storyboard? He's an artist?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Cool.
My whole family are. So my dad's like, he's a book illustrator. He's a storyboard artist as well. My mom's an artist. My sister's an artist. And I am, but not the drawing kind.
So Brett tends to be a little bit more original series, and I tend to be a bit more the Next Generation. So I want to ask what your favorite episode of the Next Generation is.
That's such a good question that I used to say. It's funny because like I want to come up with a different answer because I've learned that my favorite episode is like everyone's favorite episode, but like Tapestry, my absolute favorite. I remember seeing that. I don't know how old I was, maybe like 12. It just like blew my mind, like the whole concept. And I quote it all the time. That one's definitely my go-to.
I love that one, but it's not my favorite.
What's your favorite?
My favorite are the two episodes with Professor Moriarty.
Remind me of those ones.
Geordi makes the holodeck create a villain that can defeat Data instead of saying within the holodeck program. So he creates a consciousness. And I feel like it really explores what it means to be conscious in those 2 episodes, and death and mortality. And I find that beautiful.
Yeah, that is absolutely an amazing episode. I completely agree with you. I didn't clock Dr. Moriarty.
How about a favorite character? Is there a character that really pops for you?
Yeah, I mean, Picard has always been my number one. I love Spock. I think Spock has always been like a really fascinating character. Geordi LaForge is great as well. I have a soft spot for Worf. I don't know, all of them. It's hard to decide.
I prefer Spock ultimately, but it's like, you telling me I don't like McCoy? I mean, right? It's hard. I like Yeoman Rand. I mean, I have very deep affection for all of the Star Trek characters.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, picking your favorite dessert. I don't know.
And now you've gotten to direct Spock.
I have.
Which is really cool.
It is.
Do you ever say to him, you have shown a little too much emotion? You got to tone it down a little bit.
No,
I didn't think so. He's a terrific actor. He's doing a great job.
He's very, very good.
Yeah, no, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, no, he's very spectacular.
Was there a sort of a pinch yourself moment when you get on the set and you're like, oh my God, this is Star Trek?
The first moment, so when you first go onto a TV show, you go into your production office and, you meet the ADs, you meet everyone who's in your team. Because when you're a TV director, you're kind of visiting another family, you're a guest. And this time was there was just a very different feeling because the offices are connected to the stages. And I remember walking down, walking past the doors to the stages and just knowing what was in there. And so the first time I saw everything, I was with my ADs and people who were strangers to me in the moment. But now are great friends. I remember walking in and seeing, I think the first thing I saw was a corridor, and I was walking down the corridor and I was like, wow, this is so surreal, but it was too much. I was just sort of stunned. It wasn't a real emotional reaction. And then going to the bridge again, it was just overload. Once I stepped onto the bridge, and and when I saw how they had done it, I was like, oh my God, this is so perfect. I love the buttons and everything is so great. But it was on my first day on set where I had to go up and give Anson a direction. And I just was like, he was like, I understand.
He got it. He understands. That must happen a lot to them.
Yeah. Well, I think for everyone, I think everyone involved in the show is just pinch me. I think, and you can tell, the series is so great. Every actor, every department, everybody there is just amped, no one's just coming to work. Everyone's, really excited. And I think it really shows.
I agree. Absolutely.
When something is so solidly part of your vocabulary and your world, it's so strange to make contact. It's surreal. It's science fiction.
I know that a lot of fans are so strident with keeping with all of the formulas that Star Trek has had and making sure that there's no continuity errors. I think they're probably the biggest group of fans that can be it shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't look that way. How do they treat you as a director to make sure that you're aware of everything, especially with Star Trek being so huge and vast?
Well, the writers, there's a whole system involved for that. It's a very well-oiled machine, and a lot of the writers on the show are huge Star Trek fans, to the level of my brother, the encyclopedia. Mm-hmm. It is such a massive universe, but it's also it's kind of cool how much, yes, there are holes and things like that, but it's so infinite. You could make a whole new series and fix everything. It's a universe that's meant to be sort of bended and twisted and turned around and evolved. And
so you when you're comfortable when they do that. So I love Discovery, but some people were unhappy feeling it bent some of the rules. And I'm not sure which rules it bent that it upset people, but I wonder what you feel.
Yeah, I don't know what rules you're speaking about either. But honestly, from the rules that I do read about being broken, they can't be too egregious because, I feel I would have known about them. But also, I do believe that one of the most important things, as a genre director, I do believe in rules. I think rules are really important to the foundation. Yeah, I think they are really important to the foundation of making a story believable. What makes fantasy and genre so enjoyable, because we can relate to it. It can feel real. You can picture this fully formed thing in your head. And once there's rules, you can go and do whatever you want with it. Right. I completely agree. I mean, I'll say that I completely trusted the writers, everything, we talked about that stuff all the time behind the monitor, like in prep. I would say, I don't know what it's like on Discovery, but at least on Strange New Worlds, my experience was there was a lot of care about that.
Strange New Worlds feels the most like Star Trek that we grew up with of all the new series. From what it feels like they're trying to do the same thing that we grew up with, and it's amazing. And I mean, all we've seen, I'm sure you've seen also, as well as your episode, more of it, but we've only seen 4 episodes so far.
It's amazing, and it just gets better. It really,
so far, just with the limited stuff that we've seen, I mean, it really does feel like it just keeps building and building, while also being, it's sort of got a nice story, but it also each episode kind of stands alone.
Yeah,
the way the original series did.
We're it's visiting another planet, every episode, and not, metaphorically speaking. I think that it's that I love episodic. Like, I think episodic is so fun. I mean, you get these like little stories. That's why I loved the X-Files. It was the same sort of thing. You could just like tune in, watch an episode and have a little life lesson or moral lesson. That's the other thing I really, love about this iteration of Star Trek, where every episode kind of starts with a philosophical question. And I love that, because that to me is what Star Trek is. I get really confused with people who talk about like woke Trek and shit. But I do get a little confused with that, the whole concept, because that's what Star Trek has always been. It's always been, a look inward and asking ourselves questions about what it is to be human. And I think that that's what makes it fun. That's the whole concept behind episodic. It's a different question or moral every day. I don't know.
That's baked in. That's right there.
Yeah. That's like the modus operandi. That's what it is.
IDIC. I mean, infinite diversity, infinite combinations. I mean, it's just.
And with this series, Pike, with the knowledge that he is going to be burned in I think it's 10 years, and that hovering over him, it's gotten, at least for me, it's gotten me thinking about that in terms of our mortality and how much time we have left and what we want to do today, thinking about that. It's such a great thing to remember.
Yeah. And I think, and that feeling of like being sort of asked a question and like asking yourself that question, I think you could say that about really every episode that we've seen so far. And I think it's a wonderful structure for a TV show. And we need it. Like, it's hopeful. And it's, there's a lot of cynicism, and I feel like just want something about goodness and teamwork.
I want to ask you a personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't want, but there's a lot about Star Trek that leans toward atheism, maybe a little bit of agnosticism. And so I wonder if you would be comfortable sharing your spiritual background and how that affects how you see Star Trek.
Ooh, cool question. I'm not religious. Growing up, my mom was Ukrainian Catholic and was very much like in the church for a bit, but my dad was like an atheist, and he was just sort of like, and sort of taught me to ask questions very early on. I remember asking some question about, Jesus or something. And my dad said something along the lines of, well, you can choose to believe that, but you could believe something else. And I was like, what do you mean you can choose to believe? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, because there's lots of things, lots of people believe different things. And I was like, well, if you can choose, then, because I guess this isn't just the thing. And it just kind of like opened my mind like an episode of Star Trek would, to, ask myself these questions about what is the universe, what's behind the brick wall, that sort of thing. And I would say that I'm like, I don't know, there's something magical out there. Part of me believes in fairies and ghosts. And, I believe that, I minored in ancient history when I was in school, and I had an amazing teacher who was like one of the top 10 archaeologists in the world. And she was this very severe German woman. And she said, I know so much that I know nothing. And she was like she was a very like spiritual person, just because she realized like the vastness in the universe and like just things that we as humans like couldn't possibly understand, and how much more there really is to discover. So in terms of like Star Trek, that is my like spirituality, the idea that there is so much more unknown. And that's on a, that's like literally space, sure, but that's also just on a, physical, mental level. Like, who knows what the hell is going on? We don't we've only been here for like a sliver of time as humanity. So I believe in the infinite and its possibility.
Great answer.
Wow, that was good.
Very Star Trek.
But it's true. I mean, some people read the Bible. I read Star Trek novels,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I have a connection to these characters that goes, all the way back to, it started when I was 6 years old. And so when something new comes out, like Strange New Worlds, that feels like the old stuff that I love so much, it's very exciting.
Yeah. That nostalgia feels real good.
Yeah, but it's not the kind of nostalgia, like your typical nostalgia. They just kind of show you the same thing. They're not doing that. This feels very new.
It's like it's like a branch on the same tree. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's also just like, we were talking about the rules and genre and stuff, and I've directed Star Trek, which is like the most exciting thing. But I did the 100. I did Shadowhunters, which had like a massive fandom. And I am a huge fan. Like I love it. I play a million video games. There's a million video game worlds I wish I could be a part of. There's something so wonderful about a good piece of genre and how it can become your world. It can become your religion. It can be something that helps you understand yourself and helps you navigate the world. And it's just like, I don't know, it's the best. It's allegory, man. It's powerful stuff. And I love it.
What would you love to get your hands on? Anything that you haven't directed that you would really like to?
Oh my God, the Willow TV show.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even know that was happening.
Oh my God, I can't watch the trailer. It's going to make me so sad. I was obsessed with Willow. I don't know, something with fairies would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a great way to look at it, though, is it isn't necessarily a particular franchise. Like, you're not looking for one thing. You just, you're into fairies. You'd like to work in that. You'd like to play in that sandbox.
Yeah, I'd like to work in that realm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Growing up, would you have considered yourself a nerd?
Yes.
Yes. And at that time, was that cool?
No, I was not cool.
You're super cool now, and you're the example of the cool female nerd. So I have to ask you this question. Have you ever had the opportunity to play Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, I've played Dungeons and Dragons many a time. I love D&D. I also play Magic cards. Like I'm a nerd. I have been my whole life, and now it's benefiting me. So that's great.
Yeah. That's
yes,
awesome.
the path you were on the right path.
Yeah. I mean, everyone, honestly, people who are successful in Hollywood right now, like, they're nerds. They were all nerds. It's because they know the comic books, they know the video game, they know, they know what the kids like. And the geek shall inherit the earth. And
right. That's true. So how does it start with an episode? Does it start with the script? You're directing an episode of Strange New Worlds. Mm-hmm. They send you the script. Is that where it begins?
Where does it begin for me? Yeah. I mean, I get the script usually it depends on the show. Sometimes I get a script months ahead of time. Sometimes I get a script while I'm prepping, but
oh, wow.
Yeah. In this case, I think I got the script a couple weeks ahead of time. I think I got the story outline too. I don't remember. Yeah, I did.
Do you do notes on it? Like, do you have any kind of input?
With the script, yes. With the story outline, no. I mean, yeah, with the script, of course, I'm directing it. So I have a habit of always, I'll write and this is not something all directors do, and it's probably annoying to writers, but I'm very polite about it. But I'll write an essay of, well, we could maybe do this and this and this. And they go, no, yes. No, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you choose the episodes you directed, or they just sent them to you?
They just sent them to me.
And is everything that the actors have written down what they say, or is there any improvising when you're recording, when you're working?
On any show, there's always improv. I mean, it's the thing is, what's on the page doesn't necessarily work there on the day, and mm-hmm. Or you want to discover things and try new things. Like that definitely happened. Unless it's this scientific jargon stuff, then we've got to be
gotcha, on it. So Brett and I are both comics. That's how we met and part of what we do. So I wonder if any of the actors that are currently in Strange New Worlds you feel are funny or have comedic abilities.
All of them. All of them. Yeah.
So they're cracking each other up when the camera's off.
Yeah, they're all funny. They're all very funny people. They're all, you can't be a good dramatic actor without, well, you can, I guess, be a good dramatic actor without being a comedic actor. But like, I think people who can do comedy tend to be very good at drama when they're good at drama. And our actors are all of, I call them our actors, they're not mine at all, but Star Trek, Strange New Worlds actors are really like very, very, very talented, and they can do all of it.
It shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you get the script. Is there a point when you like get to see the costumes, or, do you get to sign off on that? Like, or is that stuff all set?
For Star Trek, I mean, the costumes were set when I came in. I wasn't gonna change anything on that. I mean, on most TV shows, costumes, unless there's like a technical, like, oh, we can't have him wearing white because we're gonna be in bright sunlight, it's gonna blow the camera or whatever.
Right.
Like, unless there's like a technical thing, oh, she can't wear a skirt because it's gonna be -30 outside. Then, in those cases, I can chime in, but that's a network thing.
Right. As far as working with the actors, I mean, is there a table read? Is there, like what's that rehearsal process like?
We do like a meet and greet with each actor, and we talk about the episode and where we see it going, introduce ourselves to each other. Near the end of my prep period, there's always a table read. Table reads used to be done literally around a big table, and now they're always on Zoom and probably will be forever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is fine. It's kind of like you can sit back because they'll do the thing where the screen like changes when someone's talking. So you can actually like sit back and like watch it, which is, I would say, preferable. You get a better idea of what the episode is going to feel like. But yeah, we do a table read, and then we do notes after the table read, and then we go and shoot it.
And you give acting notes, like you're not just saying stand over here. Like you're actually, do it more like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have an acting background yourself?
Yeah, it's funny, when I auditioned for this arts high school in Toronto, and I wanted to take their television. They had a film and television program, but the year I applied, not enough people like tried out for it, so they canceled it. So I was like, I guess I'll like apply for drama instead. So I ended up doing theater for 4 years. Little did I know that's like one of the most important things about being a director. So it was very handy that I, had training and stuff, and gives me the language to speak to actors. Yeah,
I would think, because I would say that's an important thing for a director to have, but I would imagine not every director has that.
No, not every director does. I think that the best directors know a little bit about acting.
Sure.
Do you act currently?
No. I was in like one really bad horror movie when I was 16, and that was it. I liked acting. I think I might get back into it when I'm like old and I can play like crones.
You have a desire to write as well?
Yep, I'm a writer as well. I've spent so much time making television the past many years, and I am currently working on not doing so much television and finally getting my own stuff out there. So yeah,
that's awesome.
What about like the CGI stuff? I mean, like how much of? I got to assume that a lot of what we're seeing is against a green screen.
No, I mean, I'll be honest. I love VFX. I can talk about VFX for a million years. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. Someone standing in front of just a big green screen, no one really does that anymore. I mean, That's kind of, that's very 2004. Now we use green screen to like fill in a piece or, put behind someone because we're going to build a bigger background. We need to cover the horizon or whatever. But I mean, there's tons of VFX that you don't see, someone's hair being VFX'd off their face that was there for the best take, or, adding more snow or adding more rain, things like that. But I mean, the VFX on Star Trek are incredible. Like the spaceships, like they look amazing. And in combination, we're using the AR wall as well, which is a pretty fantastical piece of technology.
What is that AR wall?
Yeah. So the AR wall is a giant, like curved screen, essentially made of LEDs, and it projects the fully finished CGI'd image behind it. So, for example, in the pilot, when Spock is with T'Pring and they're getting their sexy time on, that whole background of was there, like that was projected on the screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's no green screen, it was live, so we could actually see it.
You saw it as well when you looked Okay.
It's a live image playing back. It's a gargantuan live screen. And the cool thing about it is the individual LEDs actually are lighting the set as well. So there's no lights on a set. So you can have a crane and go and do all sorts of fun stuff and not have to worry about lights on stands everywhere. It's pretty cool. And it's a very exciting piece of technology to work with.
It sounds like when you're there and you're directing, it feels like you're really there.
Yeah.
I had up until this conversation, I had the opinion that if I ever had the opportunity to be involved in anything, shooting anything with Star Trek, it would be disappointing because then I would see, all of the missing walls and all of the things that aren't there. But it sounds like when you're directing, you feel like you're there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would say on this show, like more than any, because the ship is cut up into pieces. You have to go to one stage for the corridor and another stage for the bridge. But the bridge is the bridge. Like it's the full bridge, from every angle. And like the ready room is the full ready room. And then when you're in engineering is the AR wall. So that's not a green screen. So when you're standing in there, it's like, whoa, feels like I'm in engineering and it's huge.
Yeah.
Did you sit in the captain's chair?
Yes, every single director sat in the captain's chair.
Okay. Because I was excited to sit in the chair at the Paley Center. And, and that was not the real chair. You had to pry me out of that.
We're using the real one right now.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I think that's.
Brett saw the picture of me in the chair and was like, "There's a chair."
There's a chair.
That's awesome.
Have you ever met anyone that you would consider Star Trek royalty?
No, I haven't. I've had many opportunities to meet Jonathan Frakes, and I can't do. I will. I'll do it. I'm going to do it.
It never happened. Not this time. It's a total fabrication.
I hope he never sees this.
No way. Not a chance.
I was an idiot when I met George Takei.
Oh, were you? I would love.
But I think he's used to it.
That would be so fun.
He was amazing. He was so much fun. But after we left, I said to my son, I was like, I acted like an idiot, didn't I? He's like, oh yeah, you did. You were a moron.
What's your favorite movie?
Very good question. Ravenous is one of my very favorite movies ever, directed by Antonia Bird. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's
Love that movie.
It's amazing. It's okay. Jess chimes in. It's Robert Carlyle, Guy Pearce, Mexican American War. I won't say anything else because it's best to go in blind. It's such a good movie. I've seen it 1,000 times. It's really, really good. That Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. I love that movie. Pee-wee's Great Adventure, The Rocketeer, love The Rocketeer. And I got to work with Timothy Dalton. I was like, oh my God, you played Neville Sinclair. And he was like, what film was that? Had no memory of it. And he's amazing. He's
terrific on Doom Patrol. I'm trying to get everyone I know to watch that show because it's so good. And I'm like, you trust me, just take my word for it. I know it's weird, but it's really, really good.
Is there anything about Star Trek or any of the series or any of the movies that you wish was different?
I don't know. I'll say I don't want to say, I can't say anything, but I think that Strange New Worlds is fulfilling a lot of what I wanted from Star Trek. And as the series goes on, everyone will see that it will just continue to deliver.
You're giving us hope. Yeah. That's awesome.
I would change Tom Paris not turning into a lizard and Captain Janeway.
I love when they turn into lizards. They have lizard babies. It's awesome.
Well, they didn't have to have babies. Those poor babies. They're going to starve.
Oh, gosh.
You ever go to a convention?
I went to Comic-Con for the first time ever and was like, why have I been missing this my entire life? And I came I was so upset. I didn't have a costume. Everyone has costumes. This is an excuse for me to wear a costume. This is I was Link from Zelda for Halloween. It's same hair. And I made this and I used the insulation you use on windows.
Oh, wow.
Great.
I was proud of that. Oh, and look, this is my brother painted this in high school.
Oh, wow.
It's a shrine.
That's so cool.
It's so beautiful.
That's amazing.
The assignment was shrine, and so that was the shrine.
Makes sense to me.
What a person to make a shrine for, someone who was written to be better than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love doing that show. It was so great.
Is there anything from Star Trek that you wish people would know, people who aren't Star Trek fans, anything that you think might help all of us to know? and any message that you're trying to get across in your work as a director on Star Trek.
I think it's, sort of maybe to summarize like everything that we've been talking about today is that, Star Trek is like one of the only examples of a utopian future. Typically science fiction, it's dystopia, and humanity has this sort of really sort of dire outlook on the world right now, like global warming, war, all this stuff. And we're just so used to just dismissing it and saying, oh, that's just life. It's as if the idea of, this utopic future is just like so, it's so far-fetched, it's not even fathomable, it's silly. But what Star Trek does, I think, is actually create, a really believable universe, something that, we can strive to. And it's the kind of hope that I really think that people need, and the kind of introspection that people need. And I think that people who need to, feel a little bit, better about the universe and feel better about being a human being should tune into Star Trek for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Star Trek makes me feel better.
Yeah.
About everything. It really does. Yeah. It's like hope it's exactly what you just said. It's hope for the future.
Yeah.
Maybe things will be okay. We will figure it out.
Yeah. And like, don't you think like now, like, it's just, especially with like the overload of the news, like we are like our society right now is just so obsessed with every terrible thing that's happening around every corner. And there are terrible things happening around every corner. And it's really hard to fathom that we could, be somewhere greater and better than this, which is a really, really devastating thing for humanity to lose, because the only reason we've ever progressed as humans is because we've had bigger ideas and better ideas. And, if we lose that, then we give up, and that's so boring. What a bad ending.
And just as you said that at the beginning, when you told us your story of how you became the director that you are now, it sounds like that's what you did, that you had a vision for your future that was bigger than where you were. And it's amazing.
Yeah. And like, what, like, who knows, maybe like Star Trek gave that to me, quite possibly.
Yeah.
It was such a core part of my, my adolescence, that, yeah, for sure. I've always been able to sort of, I'm a realistic person. I wouldn't say it's optimistic, but it's like, just as long as there's a chance, I'll reach for it. I feel like everyone in the past couple years has lost that, I certainly did for a period of time, and, am working on Star Trek has like gotten that back for me. Like, that is the magic of Star Trek. So.
All right. Well, you've been very generous with your time.
Thanks for having me. This is fun. I love talking about Star Trek.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for giving us your time, and we're so honored. It's we're such huge fans of Star Trek. It's like, we're starstruck by you. So
we're the biggest fans.
Oh, yeah. Great. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.